welcome back. Today is September 27th, 2023. We're doing business and social stories in the middle of your week.
And the big new hype hardware story is, of course, Intel. Now, this hype train is not going to arrive at the station till December, but you got to get started early.
Intel's biggest laptop CPU update in years is a huge departure from past designs. This is from Ars Technica, but this is from Intel Innovation, which I was at last week, and we're going to be doing our own videos on it. But the big departure here is that they're going full in on chiplets. Yes, I said chiplets because Pat Gelsinger said chiplets at Innovation, not tiles.
Remember when they made fun of that?
Well, they're actually separating concerns. Instead of having a chiplet that's like everything and then some other chiplet, they're mixing chiplets with TSMC and their own chiplets and a whole bunch of other chiplets and different products with different chiplets. They even showed a 288 core Xeon, which we'll also talk about.
This will be the end of the I lineup. We're going back to Core.
Core Ultra.
And
Meteor Lake laptops.
They're hyped about it. This will not be part of that update, but this is the even further out hype train, which they're saying that ultimately will be a huge leap forward.
Intel shows off work on next generation glass core substrates, plans deployment on later that it plans to deploy later in the decade. Sorry, Anitech, rough headline.
So it's all about changing the material to squeeze more out of it.
They can pack more chiplets in more densely on a glass substrate and stack things vertically eventually.
So they hope. And we'll be seeing that eventually.
There's a lot of prototypes. They show prototypes at Intel Innovation. They're 2 generations out. So things that are going to come 3 years from now. And they also doubled down and said they're going to launch 4 products next year. 4 big products. So that's there's going to be a lot of suffering inside Intel bringing up 4 products at the same time.
And Microsoft is refreshing the Surface lineup, or at least the laptop version of it. And they're going to make it a little more powerful, but it's still pretty expensive.
Microsoft announces Surface Laptop Studio 2 with upgraded chips and ports. Microsoft had their event last week too, and in contrast to the Intel event where they packed in a whole bunch of stuff, Microsoft's event was the Windows 11 update's getting ChatGPT. And also, we've got some minor refreshes on the Surface laptop.
Which we already knew about, the ChatGPT part.
I really didn't understand why Microsoft even had the event, because everything from Microsoft was a nothing burger, in my opinion.
This could have been an email.
Yeah.
And perhaps the thing that the people were most interested in, I don't know if anybody's hyped for it, but the most interest came from a release from Microsoft that Microsoft didn't mean to release.
This is Microsoft's new diskless Xbox Series X design with a lift-to-wake controller. We know this from the FTC versus Microsoft court case.
The only big innovation here is that the sticks on the controller are somewhat modular. I don't know if that means you can switch out for what you want. And it has the accelerometer more featured.
You can replace for the stick drift, I think is what that's for. It's repairable.
Which my current Xbox 360 controller suffers from terribly.
It's just too much Cheeto dust in it.
So, they're upset about that. But that's one of the products where they didn't say no, but they were like, well, this doesn't necessarily reflect the reality. Those are outdated. Maybe we won't try to make it diskless so we can control your online digital library forever. But they will. And Neuralink. If you are someone with quadriplegia and you would like to be one of the guinea pigs, now's the time to sign up.
Neuralink is recruiting subjects for the first human trial of its brain-computer interface.
I'd be very nervous about this myself.
Can our next story be the one about the monkeys suffering horribly?
I'll put that in nonsense.
Nonsense, yeah.
But you should be very nervous about it.
Yeah, don't read this article and then stick around for the story on Friday about there's some follow-up on what happened to those monkeys with these brain implants, and it's
nothing good.
It's not fabulous.
No.
Although if you have quadriplegia, aren't you looking for anything?
I think you should still wait to 2nd gen.
Don't be an early adopter, maybe.
Yeah. They might not all have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that Xbox is it kind of looks like an Alexa, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And Alexa is getting a makeover. She's going to be new and improved.
Amazon is set to supercharge Alexa with generative AI. Amazon's assistant now has its own large language model to make it a smarter smart home. That's only about 2 years too late.
So why would you care about your Alexa having a large language model? Well, they point out some instances like, hey, Alexa, make the lighting in this room match my favorite sports team. You don't actually have to like tell it what colors those are. It can go out there. It knows what colors represent the Seahawks or whatever. And it can change your smart lights, which you got Amazon smart lights too, right?
Obviously, because I need them to be the same color as my favorite sports team.
And the whole thing was really about integrating Alexa into your home in a way where Alexa just controls everything and you speak very basic things to her.
I think there was a Disney Channel original movie that went over this premise. It didn't end well.
And you're going to need a lot of Wi-Fi coverage to have all of your smart home connected to your Alexa so that she can control every aspect of your life. And for only $1,200, you can get a nice pair to cover your whole home.
Amazon's Eero Max 7 mesh router adds Wi-Fi 7 for a whopping $600. If you're going to spend that much, you should just go ahead and get a commercial solution. We've done amazing videos on that. Check those out.
Also, if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Wi-Fi 7, that doesn't exist yet. You're right. They're just going with their version of it.
Yeah. Well, Wi-Fi 7 does kind of exist, but
it's not been approved.
Yeah. But also just get a commercial solution because you'll be happier anyway and it'll work better than whatever Amazon's trying to do.
And the flying taxi buzzword. Boy, that's been used a lot, right? This is really just a fancy helicopter, but we're going to make a bunch of them.
Hundreds of flying taxis to be made in Ohio, home of the Wright brothers and astronaut legends. And this AP article is more history lesson than what the heck is going on in the Ohio River Valley.
Now, it does rotate those turbines forward, and it can travel at 200 miles per hour.
So you can get through Ohio even faster.
Get the hell out of Ohio. Where do you want to go? Anywhere but here. And we've been seeing a lot of action in the right to repair. It seems like the people are winning to some degree, although we were already pretty far behind. But Google ain't playing ball.
Google won't repair cracked Pixel watch screens. Just as California passed its Right to Repair Act, Google says, we don't really have any options for you if you get a crack in your screen.
Well, they got an option for you. Buy another one.
Green, by the way.
And the iPhone, one of their recent iPhone, the 14, got a glowing review in
7.
terms.
It was a score of 7. That's pretty glowing for an iPhone.
But it's the iPhone 14 is what I mean.
Yeah. But it was only a 7 out of 10, which
Well,
is
I mean,
not glowing.
It's an iPhone, right?
It's reasonably
Glowing
okay.
for an iPhone.
We know how bad they are to try to fix. But it turns out that that was only based on the hardware.
Yeah.
And later we learned that Apple plays some games with the software.
We are retroactively dropping the iPhone's repairability score to 4, as reported by iFixit. Yes, because you can't actually buy the parts to repair it. Even though you can take it apart, even though there's not as much glue as in parts gone by, it's saying, oh, this is not properly enrolled. This is all Apple. So this is why Apple is so insidious, because they do their press releases and they say, we care about the environment and we're doing all this stuff and this is really good. But the reality is that there are still lizards in charge of everything, making it actually impossible for them to do anything.
I thought you were going to say there are lizards in the iPhone, and I was like, that's a conspiracy theory I haven't heard. Tell me more.
How often do you have to replace your lizard? And Allison Johnson at The Verge had a lot of bad things to say. She had a big axe to grind with these new cases.
The new FineWoven iPhone cases are very bad. So during the Apple press event, they said, you have to kill a lot of cows to make leather at the volume that we make iPhones. We don't want to kill cows, so we have this new thing. The new thing is $60 of garbage.
So you can see the damage that she's inflicted on it just with her fingernail, she claims. And that was just a couple of days of use, although she did it on purpose, I think.
Why doesn't Apple just give you a 10-pack of like the neoprene? And they're disposable, and it's like that costs like $5.
Were people using leather cases often?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, people were buying like the $100.
Fancy leather?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a leather wallet that's probably 20 years old, and it looks like it's 20 years old, but like mechanically it's very fine. But Apple can't stick with an iPhone shape or port configuration long enough that a 10-year-old iPhone case would make sense.
So she recommends that you not pick up that case. Maybe go for an aftermarket. And the big Unity story, we got the mea culpa this week, but we didn't get anything guaranteed.
No.
We got a lot of promises.
Yeah. The headline is Unity has apologized for the install fee policy and says it will be making changes to it, which I think is corporate code for we're just going to wait for this whole thing to blow over and then we're going to keep doing the same thing.
If you're a developer who's working in Unity, are you not like terrified at this point?
Yeah, there's a
A lot of them are changing away from it.
a lot of the games that have been successful enough on Steam, you know, and I'm not talking even necessarily tens of millions of installs, but you know, there's some games that only have 500,000 installs that are like, we're taking 6 months off to switch engines, and it's like, all right, sounds good. Some of the big game developers have actually given tons of money. One of them gave over $100,000 to one of the open source game engines.
That was Relogic.
Yeah,
The Terraria people.
yeah. I love the Terraria guys. You know, remember when Google, the Google Play Store was screwing them around? They just made it all public and we're like, well, we're not going to be on the Play Store because Google sucks.
And he did make one concrete, he didn't promise this, but he said they were thinking about doing a 4% maximum of the game's revenue if you made over $1 million. But that's still way different than what it is now.
Yeah.
Also, 4% of $1 million is still a lot of money. And in the recent past, Apple and Goldman Sachs joined together in an unholy union, and only bad things have been coming out of it so far. Now they have birthed another horrible creature, but did not allow it to come into the world.
I know why, too.
But yeah, because the stock market took a big dump.
Apple and Goldman were planning stock trading feature for iPhones until markets turned last year. Not just that, but I would say sort of unofficially what I've heard through the grapevine is that the Apple Goldman Sachs relationship has soured somewhat because as we've entered these uncertain economic times, guess who is dealing with the fact that people aren't paying off their Apple credit cards? That's Goldman Sachs. Meanwhile, Apple has not really felt the brunt of that.
What a terrible idea.
And so Goldman Sachs is like, well, let's not issue a stock trading thing to these people that can't even pay off their credit cards.
And it seems like in 2023, we can't go 1 week without somebody trying to destroy books in one format or another.
Textbook publishers sue shadow library LibGen for copyright infringement. Dun, 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 dun. LibGen, I forgot what it stands for. Library something, I thought.
Generator.
No, it was something.
Genesis.
Genesis, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It was only $180,000 ruling, but the publishing industry is wailing like they've lost, tens of millions of dollars.
They also want everything taken down.
Yeah.
And they want control of that domain.
Yeah.
So they might actually be thinking about running ads or something on it to try to recoup some of that cost, which is insane. This, if you don't know what LibGen is, it's mostly textbooks. So if you're in college and those textbooks are, $100, just head on over to LibGen.
Some of them are just like bad PDF scans. They went to the library's book scanner and just...
You can get a lot of textbooks just from your local library.
Yeah.
You just want to use the interlibrary loan system. Not that I would ever do that. I always bought my textbooks.
I mean, at this point, based on what we're paying the colleges, couldn't they just get some textbooks and keep them on file?
You'd think.
And digitally? Yeah. Well, if you are hyped for Bard, the AI language model, over all of the other ones, good news for you.
Google Bard extensions bringing more AI power to Maps, YouTube, Gmail, and more. So you can just talk to Maps and say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of thing nearby, and it will try to figure it out for you.
And if Bard wasn't already reading your emails, which he probably was, he is now.
We're capturing your email 3 different ways now.
Bard does feel like a boy, and I'm not sure why.
I think they all kind of do, right? Maybe not Siri. Now that
Alexa?
she's
Alexa's a lady. Why is Bard a boy? Why do we think that?
Traditionally, in the fantasy world, there were not a lot of female bards.
Maybe that's why.
You know what? Someone should do a fantasy gender swap for a new whenever they do a new fantasy IP. Make Taylor Swift a bard. Imagine how many viewers that would get. You'd have to pay her $500 million. Though.
Yeah. You think she would consent to that? Probably not.
She'll probably be a character in some Baldur's Gate DLC.
Well, you get a new Google thing, and of course, then you have to take one away because the Google Reaper must be paid his toll.
Google Domains halts registrations as it waits for the Google Grim Reaper. This is not news. We covered this before, but this is where Google is getting rid of their domain registration thing and selling it off to Squarespace.
I really like this stock image.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I like how Google has shifted their branding so much. Like, you remember Nexus? Like, Google had all of the .nexus domains for the Google.nexus, and some executive got a whole bunch of promotions for that. And now they're just like, we don't really care about the Nexus domain, whatever.
And it wasn't just those hot leaked documents that we got from the Google case this week. We also heard from some of Google's competitors who were sort of crying about how much power Google really has.
Switching away from Google's search engine takes, quote unquote, too many steps, DuckDuckGo CEO says. Yeah. Have you ever tried to switch away from Bing? It's like, I would like to open links in my email program, not in Bing. Good luck with that.
Ironically, DuckDuckGo uses Bing. And this seems to be coming to all of our streaming services, and we really have accomplished nothing here, have we?
Nope.
We've just circled all the way back around to our Sisyphean life of consuming their awful swill.
Amazon plans commercial breaks for Prime Video.
No! No!
What we have now is the ability to build a large language model AI assistant into the operating system, which you can say, hey, Copilot, make sure that I never see an ad. I want you to mute the audio and draw a black square over anything that's an ad.
What if it just does that with all modern TV shows?
That would be amazing.
It's going to respond the same way ChatGPT does when I ask it anything the least bit controversial. I don't want to talk about that.
As a large language model.
Okay, we're going to do a level 1 video that's just, like partly trolling and partly based in reality. We built our own model that watches Hulu and Amazon Prime and figures out when you're watching an ad on Hulu or whatever, and it just mutes the audio and hides the video so that you never see the ad.
You know what I forgot to put in? Remind me in the AI section. GAT GPT. Did you hear of GAT GPT? The distributed defense guys who do the ghost gun CNCs, they made their large language model to give you all the facts about building your own firearms. And they can help you.
Nice. That would be a really cool video. It's like we've got a potato class laptop running the thing, and it's like, so what do I do now? And it's like using the webcam in the laptop to be like, okay, now you need to set the drill press to this, and then do that.
We'd get not just demonetized, but probably struck for that.
Now, the thing about the Amazon plan is, yes, they're going to put it in all your Prime Video, but you can stop them by giving them $2.99 a month extra on top of your Prime subscription.
That will only be temporary.
I think they really overestimate how many people actually care about Prime as a streaming service.
But look what when Disney went to the ad one,
I guess in Netflix too, yeah.
Yeah, it's, people are willing
But Netflix and Disney, their shows are usually pretty good. Prime has a few good shows, but I don't think they're known for their streaming catalog.
But the thing about Prime is you get it as an add-on.
Right.
So people won't cancel just for that.
They won't cancel, but they probably won't upgrade either, right?
I hope not.
I don't know.
I think people's lives are so busy and overwhelmed with so many little levels of detail that it's frustrating when your attention span has to deal with, the frustration is not watching the ad. The frustration is that you have a thing that you didn't expect that is taking your attention, because so many little things are trying to steal your attention every day.
And it works.
Yeah.
You think you can tune it out, but you can't. That's the insidious thing about it. I think the first step of fighting advertising, as we say on a platform that's going to show you ads, is to not assume that you won't be affected by it, because you will, as we all do.
Gosh, it's going to be amazing though when you can build a digital assistant that is remake the world where that I don't see these things. And that's going to lead to some really dystopian stuff too.
Yeah, probably a SWAT raid.
You will look at the ads.
And this week we have a couple of mergers and acquisitions to make note of.
Pour one out for your homies at Splunk. Cisco to buy cybersecurity firm Splunk for $28 billion. So somebody made $10 million on this from $22,000. Did you see that? There was a futures contract or something that were 4 cents, and they bought a bunch of them before this was announced, and it went from 4 cents to $18. So on a $22,000 contract, they made $9.9 million.
Probably options.
It's just amazing. I've heard that internally, Splunk as a company was sort of challenged because they were very successful. They had a really great product, but they were sort of lacking in corporate structure. But also, Cisco is going to recoup $28 billion, so I feel real bad for Splunk users.
There might be some ads coming. We'll protect you with ads. A shield of ads around your infrastructure. And we did, I don't know why I put this. Oh, right, because now we're in the software section. The other big thing from the Windows event was the update that is coming to Windows 11.
Windows 11's next update arrives on September 26th with Copilot, AI-powered paint, and more. This is what I was mocking at the beginning of the episode. Like, there was an article dedicated to this, but I already told you literally everything that there is, and there's nothing more.
Transparency and layers in paint?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about...
Wow, it's all 20 years too late.
Yeah, I mean... Again, what world is it that... And also, there's more shovelware and garbage. It's like, did they make the start menu free of ads and terrible? Paint update adding layers. Like, there's a whole article on just that.
I pretty much only use paint to like quickly crop something.
I mean, this would be good as like a footnote article, not as like a headline feature from the keynote. I mean, come on.
This could have been an email.
I use paint exclusively to paste my screenshots. So,
I don't ever want to hear any complaint from anybody in the comments about when there's a Linux headline about GIMP adding support for like transparent icons or something. I mean, just come on.
I don't think we hear a lot of those.
It's probably like one comment from years ago, and that guy's like vindicated now because you brought it up.
But you know who does hear a lot of complaints? People who live next to Airbnbs. Because it turns out some people are not actually looking to just have a better alternative to hotels when they do travel. No, they're looking to sneak in there and have a little party.
Meet Airbnb's official party pooper who reduced partying by 55% in 2 years. They look at the person who's doing the renting and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's like, oh, nope, we're not going to make a reservation for you because we think you're not going to stay there. We think you're, renting this place to host a party, which is not allowed.
So it's an artificial intelligence which runs a bunch of different things. Interestingly, one of the big ones was your birthday. If it's near your birthday, you cannot get an Airbnb because they suspect that the party is going to go down.
What if you just want to take a nice vacation on your birthday week?
Listen, the AI says no. Also, the size of the place versus the size of your party. You know, if you have like a small party and you're renting a giant place and stuff like that, there's a lot of little things that they identify that might target a partier. So your advertising profile now has a column of whether or not you're a partier. You think Lauren Boebert got flagged as a partier?
Absolutely.
Probably.
And Yelp is also tracking everything about you and keeping track of it. And if you are a business who tries to game their system, you get the red mark of shame.
Yelp has a wall of shame for businesses caught trying to pay for fake reviews. Yelp is kind of in a glass house here, though. So you can pay them to take negative reviews down.
But that's kind of a fake review, right?
Yeah.
They're also going to share this with the public. They're going to have a page where you can go and actually see all the lists.
How much do we find out that it was a sister organization that was baiting people into? It's like, would you like to pay for some fake reviews? And it turns out those people were actually paid by Yelp to try to get people into doing that.
I just kind of hate a lot of these sites like Yelp that are just lists of other sites. I'm like, can I not have search results with these anymore? Because they're all just bought and sold.
They do their own reviews and stuff for restaurants. I mean, that's the thing.
But businesses, especially restaurants these days, won't run their own website.
Yeah, I know.
They use Facebook and Yelp and places like that. And it's terrible. There's no good information on there.
Facebook is sometimes okay.
But you use Facebook logged in.
Right.
If you don't have a Facebook
out.
account, it's unbearable.
Okay.
It pops a banner up every 3 inches that you scroll.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, people should just run their own website.
And people should always do self-hosting because obviously if you just look at all these stories, the cloud hosting stuff is going to burn you eventually. They're going to put ads in it somehow. And one of the big tools for doing that is Plex. But Plex might be taking a toe into the dark side.
Plex will block media servers at abuse prevalent hosting company. So it turns out that rights holders, quote unquote, have gotten wind of Plex, and Plex has been making changes to try to, quote unquote, legitimize itself. They want to have their own content. They want to be able to source content and, let you pay for content that you could stream so that they have an additional revenue stream other than having people subscribe. But rights holders are noticing like, wait a minute, this family has 300 people in it and they have a multi-terabyte server that's hosted on Hetzner, for example. Hetzner wasn't one of the named complainants, but it seems like people who have Plex servers hosted on Hetzner are having their Plex services turned off, which is disturbing. But also, like, why is Plex looking into what I'm doing on a Plex server? That's just sort of the double-edged sword. You're going to have to host your own stuff in a way that it doesn't phone home.
Sad.
Plex doesn't do that and hasn't done that since a long time. So you probably should look into Jellyfin.
And if you are going to do that, you will be able to abandon all those streaming services, but maybe you don't want to do it all at once. And you got to choose which one do I want to go away from first. One metric that you can look at is how likely is your streaming service to kill your favorite show? And someone has done the math.
Which streaming service cancels TV series at the highest rate? This new study sets the record straight. Turns out it was HBO.
That surprises me. I would have guessed Netflix first.
No, Netflix, when they did the password crackdown, a lot of people bought accounts. I was surprised.
But they do kill a lot of shows.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
I don't think it was a massive lead. I think they were all pretty much neck and neck here, though. Oh, here we go. So, yeah.
I'm still mad they canceled our Altered Carbon. And they cut the budget for the third season, and you could really tell.
Another very interesting little nugget we got from the Microsoft documents is that they are looking at a big name to acquire. I don't think anybody's ever offered this, but they've decided that this might be their white whale.
Phil Spencer at Microsoft says that acquiring Nintendo would be a career moment. That might actually make Nintendo be less horrible.
I don't know.
See, people keep saying that. They said that about Minecraft as well. Like,
Yeah,
maybe it'll be better if Microsoft gets it, and then it didn't make it better necessarily.
Oh, that reminds me. I got to migrate my account. Crap.
Oh, it's so awful.
It is. It's terrible.
The thing about it, I already got the Game Pass, so I didn't have to go through all the garbage, but if you don't have that...
It's still an annoyance, yeah.
Dang it.
So...
prepare for that same thing to happen if they ever acquire Nintendo.
Also, like imagine what Microsoft will do with all that IP. Nintendo does protect it in some ways. Well, here's a terrifying story about, once again, class action lawsuits. Who do they benefit? Well, it's not the class action plaintiffs. It is, in fact, always the lawyers. And for some reason, they get to set their own hourly rates.
Lawyers who sued Tesla board for excess pay want $10,000 an hour. You can't make this up. This is actually kind of funny. I don't think Tesla did something bad here, but it's unusual that it's like, oh, Tesla, there's some dark part of Tesla. Not in this case.
Well, this was one of those things where, like they pointed out, one of the big headlines we're seeing is the auto workers.
Yeah.
They're looking at the CEOs of the auto companies and comparing their rate of increase in pay to the employees' rate of increase in pay. That's what they did here in Tesla. And the Tesla execs were getting a lot of money. So much that they got smacked on the wrist for it. And they claim that there was so much forensic accounting that went down here, they're owed this much money. And Apple is also having some issues with their payments. That being, they're not selling enough products to make them.
Apple reduces raises given to retail employees after a weak iPhone quarter.
This week,
Executives keep going up.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
If you annually, based on performance, you can expect between a 2 and 10% increase. This year, it will cap it at 5%.
Nobody wants to buy an iPhone that's the same as the last iPhone.
That seems like that would get rid of your top performers, right? Like people who were consistently getting like 10%.
If they could go somewhere else, but in this employment situation, not guaranteed. And will this be enough to push you away, or will you give in to this?
I don't know.
I feel like Twitter's gotten consistently worse.
It's an existential dread
Yeah.
in that statement. Personally, I will be gone so fast.
Same.
Not that anybody cares.
Musk says X will charge everyone to use the platform. He's like, I don't know what to do. The advertisers have left in droves. I don't know why.
Well, that's not the excuse he gave. He claims this is to fight the bots. Because every time, even if you're willing to pay for your bots, he will lock out your payment method. So every new bot will require a new credit card. He thinks this is going to be the solution.
He did also say he thought it was going to be less than $8 a month the current Twitter premium users pay.
Let's say it's $2. Will you pay $2?
No.
$24 a year.
If I could do it in a year at a time, I might.
Well, you know he's going to let you do it a year at a time.
Yeah.
No, it's not worth it to me. I just use that to shit post, and
It does.
I can do that elsewhere.
It does troll me a lot too. I get a lot of things that's like, hey, we could be paying you money because you have enough traffic, probably. You just need to pay $9, and it's like this. I'm pretty sure that's a pyramid scheme.
Oh, you can just, it'll be like Eve Online. You can pay for your monthly payment out of the revenue that you get.
Yeah. That's what it's suggesting, but it's not guaranteed. It's like, it's not saying these are the numbers that you would be making. It's the other things, the other thing. So there was some other people on my feed that did that. And like the first month they're like, wow, I made $600. And then that was like in August. And then for this last month, they're like, it went from $600 to $20. I don't understand what happened because the numbers were similar.
Sure, we'll be finding out that there were some shenanigans.
Yeah.
And some shenanigans in Indonesia where, this is why free speech has to be absolute. Because if it's not, eventually we'll get to this.
Indonesia jails woman for blasphemy over TikTok food video. She said an Islamic prayer before eating some pork, and apparently that's frowned upon.
They did not care for that.
But she's in jail for that.
2 years.
She was surprised too. She was like, I didn't think this would happen.
Who wouldn't be surprised? Although I knew she did it as like a way to get attention, right?
Yeah.
She knew
I
what she was
assume,
doing.
yeah. Well, it says she is Muslim in the article, or she identifies as Muslim.
Well, she's not a very good one.
Maybe it was a protest of sorts.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And TikTok, man, we don't get any TikTok hype anymore. No one's worried about TikTok anymore. We've got so many new problems. But the Euros are still finding them.
TikTok fined 345 million euros over handling of children's data in Europe. That's almost €500 million. That's a lot of money.
And TikTok's like, keep giving me that child data because it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's all the same arguments before. They let them sign up too early. They didn't separate them out. They showed them stuff that they probably shouldn't show them. Don't let your kids use TikTok. And WhatsApp, it's taken them quite a long time for this, considering it should be a very easy port, right, from the iPhone. But now they have it.
WhatsApp appears to be about to launch its long overdue iPad app. I think the real reason they didn't want to launch the iPad app is because they wanted your phone number and they could just get it if it was on an iPhone.
And the whole don't trust the cloud thing, there's so much evidence, but we can always pile on more. What you buy on the cloud, you don't get to keep.
Meta is shutting down 3 Oculus games without explanation.
One of which is an offline single-player game.
Doesn't make sense.
Apparently it won't work on the next generation, but why?
Because it's our game and stop asking questions.
It doesn't inspire confidence in Meta.
Because buy it again, that's why.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's a sequel, which is exactly the same, but it works on the new one.
It's the Disney model where you change the title a little bit and then it's a different thing now.
It's in the vault.
And my favorite headline of the week, something that I know we predicted and any sane person should have predicted, and I don't feel sorry for any of you.
Nearly all NFTs are now literally worthless after their valuation plummeted to $0.
The one mentioned in this article, the bidding started at $1, so not completely worthless.
Our NFT mug is now worth more than the vast majority of NFTs.
Stored on level1text.com.
The people that got away with that ape money originally,
Yeah.
that was the heist of the decade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wonder how Seth Green's feeling about his Bored Ape TV show.
Hopefully embarrassed.
Should have put that money in more episodes of Robot Chicken.
I think it'll be all right.
Or literally any television show that everyone liked and was canceled.
Maybe we should start a GoFundMe for him. Poor Seth.
All right. You've wasted a perfectly good, how long?
35.
35 minutes with us. We will see you guys on Friday with nonsense stories.
We're doing okay.
Bye.